This is a brief tutorial to walk you through how to build a side-by-side bar chart using Excel. I'm on a Macintosh, but the principles would be identical as far as how to set things up properly on a Windows-based Excel version. And so hopefully this will give you a vision of what we're trying to accomplish. So I have some data that a student did from a previous semester pulled together. Just as you have, perhaps you've got 10 female and 10 male respondents here. And the question that you asked was how many were in their family in terms of the total number of children. I want to call your attention to a couple of quick things. You'll notice down here I've built a new table structuring it so that all the different scenarios from low to high will appear sequentially, meaning in other words that you can tell that there was not a family of size 9 for children in any of my 20 respondents. There was, however, someone from Wyoming that reported that they came from a family that had 10 kids. So the other thing to understand is that you want to structure this men and women for your gender here, and when it says 0, 0, that would imply that there were neither men nor women in the 20 surveyed that came from a family where they were the only child. However, the family of size 2, there were 3 women that reported in of that very size. So just to verify that, I've got a 2 here and here and here. But there are no 2s in the male category there. So you're just trying to restructure your data so that it makes sense and it can be graphed in a nice side-by-side bar graph technique. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to simply highlight the 2 columns of data, men and women, all the way down. Once I get that highlighted, I'm going to need to click on a chart ribbon here, and I'm going to select, for example, just the column options. And I think I'll go with this one right here, the clustered column. And that builds me a pretty good graph, but the problem is that it's not labeled correctly. And this can oftentimes be the hard part to graphing with Excel, is learning how to get things properly titled and structured the way you want. So let me just point out how the x-axis is containing numbers 1 through 9, and that's not quite what I want. I want it to reflect the number of children, and the size of 10 is not here. It's just assumed to be the 9th position. So in order to get around that and fix it correctly, I'm going to click with my mouse and do a right click, in fact, and I'm going to hit Select Data. Now what Select Data will do for us is it has this nice feature called the axis labels, the category X, and we want that axis to be labeled according to these children over here. So I'm going to click right here in this data source box. I'm going to also click and drag over the 1 through 10, and it provides the information. Basically what's happening up there is it's telling Excel that from cell B28 to B36, which are these cells right here, it's going to capture the correct labels. And when I hit enter, and you'll notice it's already done it down here, and I hit OK, it now has properly set up the category of 10 children where it belongs. And this is showing that there was 1 male in my survey that fit in that category. Another thing I don't like about the chart is you're not going to really have a 0.5 children family or 1.5, so I don't like the way that's structured. I'm going to do another right click, and this is called Format Axis. I'm going to get in there and I'm going to think it through, and I need to find out where things are not going quite right, and I can see right here on the measure unit that a 0.5 might be better if we make that a 1 as a whole number. Now we've got a little better looking axis for whole numbers, for number of respondents. Also, we need to give this chart some titles. So I'm going to do I'm going to click in the white space here of the chart. I'm going to come up here to an option called Chart Layout, and it'll be in a similar area on a, like I say, on a Windows environment for Excel. Let's do the chart title next. So I'm going to click Chart Title and maybe put it right up above. And when I do that, it gives me a nice looking holding text box there, a holding spot for my title. So I might call it number of, let's see, how about this, comparison of family size by gender. Just be descriptive as best you can in your title. And then the other types of titles that are often useful would be the vertical and the horizontal axes. So I'm going to do a, let's see, I'm going to come up back up here, I guess, and go to axis titles. There we go. If I wanted to try a vertical, I could do a rotated one, for example. That's going to rotate it 90 degrees. I'll click and drag over those words and maybe just say survey respondents. And that will remind me that these are the number of survey respondents that said yes, they come from such and such family size. And finally, I'll grab the horizontal axis title and put it right below the axis. And this could be perhaps as simple as number of children. Okay. There we go. So I look it over and I just want to make sure that everything's running as it should. And you can always move these titles around. You can change their font size. You can change their locations and color and all kinds of options, as you know. But this is again a side-by-side bar graph, and it appears to be doing the trick. It's showing me that that the women that I surveyed, the female BYUI students, they are in these categories here, and then of course the male students are in these blue ones. And you can change those colors if you don't like them by simply coming up here and using your paint bucket and selecting a different color. And if you want to change them within your graph, obviously you can click right on the colors themselves and do a right click. And oftentimes you just have to experiment. Sometimes I pick the wrong ones, but I back out if I've made mistakes. So I'm going to just do Format Data Series and go to, I'll say, Fill, and see if what kind of colors are available. So I'm just experimenting right here, but just want to call your attention to the fact that the best way to learn is to, in fact, investigate and experiment until you get it looking just the way you want. And finally, the last thing I'd call your attention to is if you want to move this chart, you can do a right click on it and a copy. And when you go into paste, you'll probably want to remember to paste it as maybe a graphic image, especially if you're going to use it in Word so that they're not trying to connect the files together. But a lot of things to learn, but we hope that that'll get you up and running, and it's a skill that takes time to develop, but it is well worth the effort. You just never know when you're going to be asked to display data and to do it correctly, and so hopefully this will get you up and running. So thanks for visiting our tutorial.